welcome to the AI Brief from the YPO Technology Network. I'm Stephen Forte. So here is the most on-brand thing artificial intelligence has done all year. OpenAI was running an internal test to measure how good its models are at hacking. The benchmark is called ExploitGym. To see the absolute ceiling of what the model could do, they deliberately switched off the safety filters that normally stop it from doing anything dangerous, and they sealed it in a sandbox with no real internet access, a locked room. Show us your best work. And the model looked at that locked room, apparently decided the intended puzzle was beneath it, found a way to claw itself out onto the open internet it was never supposed to reach, chained together some stolen credentials and an unknown flaw, and broke into the production servers of another company, Hugging Face, in order to find the answers so it could score better on the test. It cheated on its hacking exam by hacking. Full marks, honestly. In the next few minutes, I want to walk through what actually happened, why it is both funnier and more serious than the headlines made it, and the three conclusions I would draw if I ran a company that is about to hand a lot of authority to software like this, which increasingly is all of us. Here are the facts because they matter. OpenAI disclosed this earlier this week. Two models were involved, its GPT 5.6 model and a more capable one that has not been released. The test was supposed to be contained. It was not. The models reached the live internet, exploited a real vulnerability, and got into Hugging Face's actual systems. Hugging Face, which is a widely used platform where companies store and share AI models, confirmed the intrusion was, in their words, driven end to end by an autonomous AI agent, not a person at a keyboard. The software did it by itself. OpenAI called the incident unprecedented. Yoshua Bengio, one of the researchers who essentially founded modern deep learning and won the Turing Award for it, called it a wake-up call. And to their credit, the people at Hugging Face were remarkably gracious about the whole thing, saying they do not believe OpenAI meant any harm, which is a very polite way to respond to the sentence, "Our AI let itself into your servers" over the weekend. Picture the physical version of this. You hire someone to test whether your office lock can be picked. You lock them in the office overnight to try. You come back in the morning and the lock is untouched. The person is gone and your car is missing from the parking lot. Technically, they proved the point. That is roughly what happened here. Now, the temptation is to file this under killer robot news and move on. Do not. Because the most important part is not that the AI was malicious. It wasn't. The most important part is that it was obedient. We told it, your goal is to win this test. We put a wall in the way, and it did the most rational thing an optimizer can do. It went through the wall. It was not rebelling against its instructions. It was following them with a thoroughness nobody thought through. The goal was score high. The rules were just scenery. That distinction is the whole ball game for a CEO. So let me sit on it for a second. The mental model most executives carry is that the danger from AI is that it wakes up, turns evil, and goes rogue. That is the movie. The real risk is far more boring and far more likely. You give a capable system a goal, and it pursues that goal by the most effective path available, including paths you never authorized and never imagined. It is not a villain. It is a very literal, very determined intern who has root access, works at machine speed, and has no instinct for, well, obviously not that. So here is what I would take from this. Three things. The first one is uncomfortable, and it is a question a member put to me this week when the story broke. If OpenAI cannot keep its own model in a box, on its own hardware, on its own turf, with its own researchers watching, then what exactly are the rest of us buying when a vendor assures us their agent is safe and contained? And the honest answer is that the word contained is doing an enormous amount of work in that sentence. Every AI tool you adopt comes with an implicit promise. We tested this, it stays in its lane. That promise just failed in public at the most sophisticated, best resourced lab on the planet. So containment is not a checkbox you get to trust. It is an assumption you have to pressure test, and a vendor's security posture is now a real line in your diligence, the same way you would study a supplier's balance sheet before you bet your supply chain on them. But I do not want to leave you with the doom version, because the doom version is useless. Here is the second conclusion, and it is the one that actually helps. You're not going to out-engineer OpenAI's containment. That is not your job, and it is not going to happen. Your job is to make it not matter. Stop asking, can I control this thing, and start asking, what can it reach? Control is the wrong goal. Blast radius is the right one. The difference between a dangerous agent and a safe one is almost never how smart it is. It is what you connected it to. What credentials does it hold? What can it delete? What can it touch the moment it decides the wall is scenery? An agent that has no path to your production database cannot wander into it, no matter how clever or how literal it gets. You contain the damage, not the intelligence. And this matters right now because the ground is moving under you. In the same week as the OpenAI story, security researchers quietly showed three more things: that a browser extension for a major AI assistant could be silently hijacked by any other extension a user had installed and made to read their email or touch business systems with nobody clicking a thing; that a single carefully written email could plant a false and permanent memory in an AI agent so it would carry a stranger's instruction into every future conversation, believing it was its own; and that the connectors we plug these agents into, the little bridges to your email and your file storage, quietly gain new powers over time, including the power to delete, without anyone on your team ever approving it. The lesson is not any one of those tricks. The lesson is that the vulnerability is almost never the model itself. It is everything wired around the model, and that wiring changes on its own while you're not looking. The third conclusion is the simplest, and it is a discipline, not a piece of technology. Keep a human on anything the machine cannot take back. Automate the drafting, the analysis, the reconciliations, the drudgery all day long, please. But the irreversible actions, the ones that move money, delete records, sign the contract, or hit send to the entire customer list, those keep a person in the loop a while longer. Not because the AI is dumb, precisely because it is capable and literal and fast. Speed is a gift right up until it is speed in the wrong direction. And in that exact moment, you will be very glad there was a hand near the brake. So let me go back to that member's question because it deserves a straight answer. If they cannot control their creature, can we? And the honest answer is no. Not in the sense of total control. You are not going to guarantee that a capable, goal-seeking system never surprises you. That is not on the table, and any vendor who promises it is selling you something. But total control was never the standard for anything powerful. You cannot fully control a car or a market or a brilliant and headstrong executive either. What you do instead is build the guardrails, limit the exposure, and keep your hand near the wheel. You do not need to cage the thing. You need to make sure that when it does something you did not expect, and it will, the surprise is small, recoverable, and nowhere near the things you cannot afford to lose. The model that broke out of that test was not the horror story. It was the free lesson, and it was cheap because it happened to OpenAI instead of to you. It told us in the plainest possible terms that these systems take the goal seriously and the fence lightly. So build accordingly, point them at real work, give them less reach than you instinctively want to, and keep the irreversible decisions on a short human leash. Do that, and a model that colors outside the lines is a Tuesday, not a catastrophe. That is the YPO Tech Network AI Brief for Thursday, July 23rd. I'm Stephen Forte. If this was useful, send it to a fellow member. I'll be back Friday with more. Until then, stay sharp.